They say the road to environmental disaster is paved with good intentions. They're right, but sometimes, when you're dealing with the deep ocean, that road is paved with a million little fish and they're all swimming towards something truly, spectacularly wrong. The setting, a sleepy, forgettable stretch of coastline near the town of Port Blossom. Its claim to fame, exactly 0 things. Until the ambitious Ocean Renewal Project decided to turn it into the epicenter of a biological miracle. Their mandate was simple: release 1 million genetically stabilized Glitterfin Minnows, a species engineered for rapid reproductions, to restock the dwindling local fishing grounds. 1 million, think about that number. That's enough tiny fish to form a conga line from here to the point where your common sense usually gives up. The man behind the curtain, Dr. Alistair Finch, was a genius. A high-stakes, slightly unhinged genius who believed the old gods of the sea needed a little nudge from modern science. He'd crowdfunded the whole spectacle, charming donors with phrases like sustainable aquatics and marine biodiversity. What he failed to mention was the tiny, little tweak he'd made to the minnow's DNA, a proprietary protein that, under the right conditions, would cause them to bioluminesce like a neon sign advertising the apocalypse. For science, of course. Always for science. The release day was a triumph. Boats lined the shore, confetti was thrown, and Dr. Finch gave a speech where he proudly called the minnows the future of oceanic nourishment. Looking back, it was less a celebration and more a high-stakes, extremely well-documented sacrifice. The fish poured into the dark water in a silver deluge, a shimmering wave of hope that the local fishermen, nor honest, superstitious souls, didn't quite trust. They remembered the old stories of things that glowed in the deep and the terrible price of seeing them. They just didn't know the glow would start so soon, and that it would be so utterly, mesmerizingly vibrant. It happened precisely 72 hours later, on a moonless Tuesday night. A lone Coast Guard patrol, sailing on what should have been a routine, painfully boring run, radioed in a report that made their captain spill his coffee, and the captain loved his coffee. The words were simple, shaky. The ocean, it's just wrong. The crew described a sudden, unnatural luminescence spreading from the center of the bay, where the million minnows had been introduced. It wasn't the soft, ethereal blue of natural plankton. No, this was a ferocious, churning, electric emerald green, a shade that felt less like nature and more like a poorly rendered horror movie special effect. The sea had become a liquid, throbbing gemstone, and it was getting brighter. The green light spread with alarming speed. By dawn, the entire bay was submerged in a neon radioactive hue. Looking down from the cliffs, it wasn't water. It was the world's largest, most menacing lava lamp. The local media, bless their hungry hearts, called it the Aurora. Dr. Finch, however, called it an unforeseen, yet fascinating, display of my proprietary protein operating at, let's call it, peak efficiency. He was already on a jet headed for an international marine science conference, presumably to give a presentation titled, "The Future is Bright and Possibly Biohazardous." The first truly unsettling report didn't come from the scientists. It came from the fishermen. The same men who had warned about the old gods. They reported that the fish they were catching, the species that weren't the glowfin minnows, were behaving strangely, not just swimming erratically, but congregating in unnatural, perfect circles just below the glowing surface. And they were silent. Usually, a large hull is a cacophony of flapping tails and stressed gurgles. Now, just the wet, heavy slap of fish hitting the deck. A sound that, in the ensuing silence, sounded unnervingly like a slow, deliberate applause. Then came the second development, which truly cranked the suspense dial up to 11 and snapped the knob off. The light, it wasn't just staying in the water. The luminescence began to affect the air above it. A thick emerald fog started rising off the bay every nightfall, hanging over Port Blossom like a malignant thought. People started complaining about strange phenomena. Batteries dying instantly, clocks stopping precisely at 3 a.m. And the dreams? Everyone in town, from the mayor to the local high school drama club, reported the same recurring nightmare. They were submerged in the green light, and they could hear a million tiny voices whispering in unison, though the words were always just beyond comprehension. The doctors had no explanation. The government had less. They sent in a team wearing hazmat suits, but they looked less like official investigators and more like very confused Michelin men. The suits didn't even deter the local teens, who immediately started flocking to the cliffs. Why? Because the green glow was fantastic for TikTok. It was a macabre, terrifying backdrop for selfies, proving once again that in the face of possible existential horror, humanity will always prioritize good lighting. This was the moment the eerie humor truly cemented itself. The world might be ending, but at least we'll go viral doing it. The final, and most chilling, event of that first week occurred when a marine biologist, Dr. Anya Sharmadi, only scientist with the guts to actually get in the water, sent a final transmission. Her voice, usually calm and academic, was a high-pitched whisper of pure fear. She wasn't talking about the glow anymore. She was talking about the pattern. She said the minnows weren't swimming aimlessly. They were forming a colossal, Single image, fractal shape, infinitely complex, constantly changing. She muttered, "It's a structure it's communicating, and I think the fish aren't the ones making the choice." Her transmission cut out with a sound that was not static, but a single, incredibly deep thumpulse. The million fish were released. The ocean started to glow, and Port Blossom was about to discover that sometimes, what you save from extinction just might save itself, right back by usurping the food chain. If the secrets lurking beneath the emerald glow have already sent a shiver down your spine, then you're ready to dive into the rest of this terrifying true story. Click subscribe now and ring that notification bell, because the deeper we go into the mystery of the 1 million fish, the darker the current gets. In our next installment, we uncover Dr. Finch's shocking final notes, trace the origin of the fractal pattern, and find out what happens when the voices in the water, finally, decide to speak to the people on the shore. Do you miss a single terrifying detail of the great bioluminescence event?